All right, what is going on, guys? Psych Guy is back at it again. Wow. Whoa, what happened? I've been gone for like a couple of months, and next thing you know, there's like chaos going on the internet. My gosh. What is going on, especially with this story we're going to talk about today? First and foremost, I want to tell you that if you guys are new to this channel, or if you unsubscribed to this channel, come on back, welcome back and subscribe. We are not going anywhere. This channel is all about psychiatry, psychology. We do it in a very high intense, high energy, high passion kind of manner. This is a very objective channel. It's very fair. It's not a typical tea channel. We're not going to go ahead and spread any sort of rumors. This case we're talking about today is the case of Sophie Long. Now, this will be the first and the last time I'm going to mention her name in this video because I don't want to come across as myself trying to profit off of this case as opposed to other channels out there, other individuals. I guarantee you that after I'm done with this video editing and so on, I will immediately demonetize this video, as I've done in a lot of my past videos, especially when it involves around children and adolescents. I just think it's kind of morally and ethically wrong to go ahead and sort of profit off of these types of individuals, or any individual in particular. So that's why a lot of my videos, if you watch my channel, you notice that they've been demonetized. You won't see a lot of these ads and so on. So that's how we roll here. Now this case right here, truth be told, I wasn't gonna do a video on this case. In fact, I was gonna do it on something else. But I got a message a couple days ago. I don't want to mention her name because I don't drop names or anything like that without getting permission. But she said, hey, I got a case for you, and she mentioned the case is, this case right here. She's a psychiatric social worker, and so this person told me about this case. I was going to do a video actually a couple days ago, but I thought, you know what, I don't want to come across as being trying to capitalize because there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of just drama and so on. So I want to kind of let the dust settle. So I think now we're in the time frame where now I think the dust is settled. So that's why I'm putting this video out to you good people. So if you guys know this case, what is this case all about? Well, it's a case about a custody battle, a case that involves a poor child who is just being tossed between both parents because it's this long-standing custody battle. It's been going on for a couple of years. I want to say like 2015 or maybe 2017. I don't know the exact date, but it's been going too long, okay? And as you probably imagine with these custody battles, I think she's also got her brothers there also, but with these custody battles, there's a lot of tension between both parties, between the mother and the father, and just a lot of just bickering and fighting and so on, and just power struggle. Okay, so I feel more comfortable here, back at my desk in front of my mic. Allow me to give you a quick timeline of events so that we're all on the same page, and allow me to catch everyone up to speed who need to be caught, who don't know the specifics about this case. So as I mentioned before, the case revolves around a beautiful young 9-year-old girl. Actually soon to be turned 10 this week. Wow, happy birthday, little kiddo. But alongside her, she has her 2 other brothers, and all three are in the middle of this highly intense custody battle. Both biological parents, they divorced in 2015, and custody was initially divided between both parents, but things quickly turned for the worse when a judge awarded custody to the mom, who eventually took the children to live more than 200 miles away from the dad. Now, what brought this case to national attention was this alleged video floating around the internet of the poor little girl detailing alleged abuse and screaming at the top of her lungs, allegedly accusing of abuse at the hands of her mother's fiance inside her mother's home. In the video, she turns to her grandmother and informs her that she doesn't want to leave the car and, to go to the mother's house because she doesn't feel comfortable, right? This is all from what I've read. Now, just a disclaimer, I have not seen the video myself, which is actually good because it throws out the window any implied and or inherent bias in the educational material that I will be presenting later in this video. But supposedly the child's father has been frustrated with the entire legal system, and according to my understanding, he spearheaded this whole online campaign to bring awareness of his plight and the struggles that he is facing, to show to the entire world the unfair legal system of how he is just trying to protect his daughter from his mother's boyfriend, who's allegedly sexually abused her. In addition to an alleged abuse encounter that occurred at a motel or a hotel or something like that over, I believe, Labor Day weekend, where he supposedly heard heard 4 men in the background, possibly there to sexually victimize, or who have already sexually victimized his daughter. And it seemed at the least, in the time being, the campaign and the fight, it's all worked out to his advantage. His 3 kids are back with him now, at least till the next court hearing, which, by the way, has been moved up from November. Now it's going to happen next month in October. Now let's break this down. In every custody case, this one included, you've got 2 sides. You've got the mom side and you've got the dad side. If you're talking about opposite gender parents. Now, with this case specifically, everyone, I repeat, everyone, including yours truly, is siding with the girl and wants the best for her from a safety standpoint. They want what's best for her. Doesn't matter if you're on mom's side or on dad's side or neither parent's side. We all want her to feel safe and secure. That's a given. Now, in regards to both parents, it appears as if most everyone on the internet initially were on the father's side. And I mean, why not? Hearing the desperate cries from Sophie, who wouldn't side with the dad, right? The dad's trying to fight, get justice for her daughter, right? However, right now, I think you're starting to see more and more people, as the days are going by, starting to slowly gravitate towards mom's side, even though she's not doing or saying anything. Nothing has changed on her end, to my understanding. If anything, she's been accused of going to jail. Where that got started, I don't know. I'm not sure how valid that is, and I don't think that's true. But really, we haven't heard from her. All we're hearing is from the father, or at least have been hearing for the most part. And as the date of the making of this video, which is September the 14th, it appears that most everyone is still on dad's side. At least the ones who are vocal, okay? And from what I'm noticing, just analyzing this case objectively speaking, is that there is this unfortunate, un-American narrative that's starting to develop, that if you side with the mom, shame on you, you're not believing the girl. Guys, girls, stop right there. Do you actually think any reasonable, rational, good-hearted person would be that cold and callous and say, we don't want to believe this little girl, she's making this all up? No, the folks on mom's side, actually just analyzing this again through an objective lens, is that they're not fully on mom's side, but the majority are, I guess, what they're doing is, for the most part, what I'm seeing in this case, they're just asking questions, believing the girl, but asking questions and raising the possibility about there being, other ulterior motives involved, some possible external secondary gain that dad may be seeking. Could there have been any coaching? Is parental alienation involved? Etc. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with asking questions, especially when we don't know or have all the facts. You see, that's the beauty of this great country of ours. We have constitutional, inalienable, God-given rights of freedom of speech and to ask and inquire about anything and everything. I myself, I love it when I actually expect and hope that after I sit down with my clients, I hope that they ask a lot of questions and try to challenge me on things that I say. In fact, I encourage their questioning. I'm not a snowflake. I don't get butthurt. So again, the impression that I'm getting analyzing both sides is that both sides are siding with the girl and wanting the best for her safety. It's just that either side has questions for the other party, which is okay. The courts will figure everything out in due time through something called due process. See, that's the beauty of this great country of ours. The fact that we actually get to have due process, and the United States having something as beautiful as the Constitution, this document protecting and ensuring our rights, unlike in other totalitarian regimes such as North Korea or China, where people end up missing if you speak up. So yeah, that's one of the problems about all of this. There's two sides to every story, and there have been a lot of people who have put out their opinions about this case. I myself have a pretty good idea what's going to happen, as I know the telltale signs and red flags, and have seen so many cases very similar to this. Really, if you're new to the case and don't know much about it, my advice is to watch the two court proceedings that are online and be a judge for yourself. If you were to watch both court proceedings, you will find out there is more than meets the eye. What I can say is that really no one truly knows what's, in the right here. It could be the mother, it could be the father. However, if you watch and analyze the court proceedings, you can read between the lines and know how it's going to more than likely go or end up. The judge dropped hints several times that she would like the child to be exposed to both sets of parents, and understandably so. Unless if there was substantiated claims of proof of abuse. Now, in the Zoom call, you can also see two sets of lawyers, and both sets of lawyers seem pretty strong and evenly matched. One set, not gonna name what side applies to what, but one side was using the strength of emotionality versus the other side that was trying to push the judge to facts, declarative facts. However, the judge wasn't having any of it, and it was, I guess, gonna save it for the next hearing. And I think at the next hearing, I'm hoping this will be the evidentiary hearing. And I think you're probably gonna see, if I had to predict, the side that was kind of trying to push for facts and evidence in the last court hearing, I think that side's gonna go on the attack. And it's going to really explode, and I think you're going to see a shift where the rug is going to be pulled out on the other side, and it's probably going to be a win. You can just kind of tell, at least I could, just being in courtrooms in cases similar to this one, and that's my opinion. However, again, both sides are allowed to due process. But again, I'm not saying any parent is bad. I'm not siding with the mom, and I'm not siding with the dad. And I'm not saying or disputing that nothing happened to the poor girl. Like, I am not a big proponent of having a child placed in foster care, believe me, but this is one of the few cases where I would have favored a temporary move to foster care, since we don't know all the facts yet. Who knows really what's going on with both sides? We're hearing alleged bad stuff on mom's side, but we're also hearing alleged bad stuff on dad's side in his past. Both have skeletons in their closet. No one is perfect. And this is your typical run-of-the-mill, high-conflict custody case. I get that. And going back to what I said earlier about temporary move to foster care, I think if dad were truly concerned about his daughter's safety, he seems like a stand-up guy. He would have in his mind thought, okay, I don't want my baby girl to be in her mother's custody, so temporary placement anywhere but her mother's, I would be cool and okay with. And likewise, I think mother would agree to that also, if she truly wanted the best well-being for her daughter. A neutral, temporary foster place, or maybe in a close loved one's relative's house, somewhere aside from mother or father's house, until all the investigations and hearings are completed and done. That would have been the best case scenario for the girl. The other thing also is I wish all of this would be private. Now look, I get how court hearings are open to the public and such, but this is a little different. There's a difference if there were no COVID, okay? You can open it to the public, and if there were no COVID, I don't think you'll see like thousands and thousands flock to wherever the actual local hearing is at. I think it's like, I believe, Collin County, Texas, I believe. I'm not sure. But anyways, this is as opposed to now where, it's on the internet and thousands upon thousands across, not the United States, but the world. The world can view. Who knows who's doing what with these online clips. It's really apples and oranges here. So I really wish there were a motion. I wish both mother and or father informed their lawyers to inform the judge if there were any way to keep these hearings private, maybe in the judge's chambers or at the least in the judge's courtroom, away from all the media / news outlets. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm sure there's a way, especially when dealing with a minor and respecting her privacy and safety, because in the end, this is what this is truly all about, or it should be at the least, about the child's safety and privacy. The other thing about this case is that I wish it were handled differently. Look, people in real life know that I'm one of the biggest critics of the limitation of mental health resources, and CPS, I'm very critical of CPS. I believe it's an institution that's very overstretched and overburdened, and it's impractical. A future video of mine, by the way, if you subscribe, is going to be called PS, CPS is BS. Look out for that. PS, CPS is BS. Future vid. But anyways, going back to this example, in this case right here, with the clip, if you watch it, again, I haven't seen it, but from what I read, the child is violently screaming and visibly shook up and making accusations of alleged sexual abuse. Again, this is from what I read. It would have been better if someone like myself or a psychologist who was contracted by the city and was on call during a mobile crisis to come out and evaluate the child instead of a recently graduated green CPS employee who from the get-go doesn't have the skilled training to know how to properly evaluate and assess if there is validity behind the child's claims, and is just basing his or her decision on subjective inferences and assumptions. Look, no one here is going to say, I don't believe the child, or I don't believe Sophie, but in this given situation, especially in such a heated, contested custody battle, the best case was to, going back to what I said earlier, A, place the child in a protected, temporary emergency environment, such as a temporary foster placement or a close loved one relative, or even a hospital setting, just anywhere from either parent, and B, have a skilled, trained professional such as myself or a trauma-based psychologist do a complete, immediate forensic-style evaluation and assess the probable validity and to rule out any potential for any sort of coaching from either parent. Now, a perfect example is I just saw a video the other day about this very topic, and it's on a somewhat popular mental health channel. I'm not going to badmouth this channel. I believe the individual is a licensed social worker, and bless his or her heart, I don't think he or she was trying to misinform the public, but he or she was focused on the intensity of the screams of the child in the video. And he or she stated in his or her video, and I'm paraphrasing, that based on the highly reactional intensity of the child's screams, that this is natural and no way was she coached. Which, by the way, is not a correct statement. I can't tell you how many times I've seen coached children scream in the same manner that Sophie did in the video from what I've read, and it was later determined that the child was coached. You see, the entire process is a dissociative one. All that's required is a trigger word or phrase. Boom! The child dissociates, almost like an out-of-body experience, and what comes after is a heightened response of anger and betrayal, whether actually based in reality or not. Oh, and in that video that I saw, the counselor also stated that she was scratching and that can't be coached. Well, guess what? That can be taught also, so he or she was wrong about that. Okay, now, I know what you're all thinking. Hey, Psych Guy, are you saying that Sophie was coached? Are you saying that Dad has brainwashed her and manipulated her to fit his own secondary gain? No. I have my professional opinion about this case, and I'm going to be neutral and objective as possible, especially when I don't have all the facts. I mean, we all don't. And also, as I mentioned before, I'm not going to include any video clips of her at all. What I can say or talk about is about the subject of coaching and how children who are coached usually present like, both from studies and in my clinical experience. And whatever information that I provide, you can take it and watch those online videos of her protesting her going to her mother's house and make your own decision, or you can leave it. But usually what happens is a couple of things. First off, if the child is victimized in a sexual manner and knows that he or she is going to return back into the house of horrors to where awaiting is going to be the sexual perpetrator or perpetrators, potentially there to abuse him or her, usually you're going to see a continued violent protest, i.e. the child putting up a continuous, non-stop, non-redirectable, no holds barred, whatever it takes, pleading and screaming the entire time. It's just a continuous display of anger, agitation, frustration, fear, terror, violence, pleading, and it won't stop until he or she is in a more comfortable place and knows he or she is safe. These are the individuals to where I'm called to evaluate, and at the scene, it usually ends up being like at a hospital or some closed, safe, barren, isolated place away from the world, okay? And the screaming and fighting continues, sometimes even requiring chemicals, unfortunately, to calm him or her down, just to protect and ensure safety. The ones that are in the hospital. But I'm pretty good, though, at fostering a sense of safety and protection in these poor children. And it's a struggle, I'm not going to lie. But eventually I'm able to instill trust in them and get them, it's called de-escalation. But yeah, those are the individuals who are abused when they reach that snapping point and across that threshold. It's almost like a psychotic event to where there's absolutely no way of calming them down. The fear is intense. The fear is paralyzing. The fear is anticipatory in nature. Now, what I'm talking about, again, are the ones who are sexually victimized, who usually get to that breaking point, cross that threshold. That is the ones that I've seen in my experience. Oh, and if you have anyone at the scene that's connected to the perpetrator, it doesn't matter if it's like the sister of the perpetrator, the perpetrator's significant other, relatives, the perpetrator's gardener. It doesn't matter. Just anyone connected or linked to the perpetrator. You need to get those individuals out of the scene, because anyone associated with the perpetrator, even as innocent as they are and as distant as they are in terms of connection-wise, it only serves to unravel repressed memories of the perpetrator and his or her acts of sexualized violence against a poor child. Now, someone who is coached, on the other hand, you'll see the protesting anger, but it won't be as continuous. The duration won't be nonstop continuous. You'll tend to see gaps, stoppage, periods where the child is consolable and conversating to anyone. It doesn't matter if the person who coached, or if it's a party, he or she was coached again, or anyone related or associated with that party, he or she was coached again. It doesn't matter. And it'll usually be interspersed later with moments where the child will pick up back again to the fits of rage, just to both consciously and unconsciously please the coach, the one parent who did the coaching. Speaking of which, children who are coached also will turn to the parent doing the coaching for reassurance or direction. I guess guidance is the best way to put it. At times, it's almost like a movie script. It's actually interesting. It's almost like watching a director and an actor or actress feeding off one another, but subtly. The parent who coached the child and did the coaching, they would tend to kick back and just say certain trigger phrases or words, and then they take a step back and let their child, just as a director steps back, for the main attraction, and waiting for the other participant to act out, right? The actor, actress. And the parent who did the coaching a lot of times will say something subtle along the lines of, you'll be fine, which further conjures up feelings of more further unpleasantness, kind of akin to how a parent takes a child to take a shot at his or her doctor's appointment and the parent says, "You'll be fine." But in reality, it ends up being an unpleasant experience for the child. Other signs of coaching, the child using words or phrases that are a little more advanced for their age. They also make unusual phrases along the lines of ambivalence and uncertainty, these sort of themes of ambivalence and uncertainty, a lot of times bargaining with themselves and trying to validate their fits of rage, justifying why they're upset. I can't tell you how many cases I've seen where the child would say something like, "It's my choice, I'm old enough, I know what's right versus wrong, why don't people believe me, I'm smarter than my age." This to me tells me that there's a chance that one of the parents is instilling into the child's head that the court system, the opposite parent, or both thinks the child is dumb and not mature enough and can't decide for themselves. So this seed of doubt is planted into the poor child's head, and it's almost like a retelling and fighting of the system. I.e., if the child says, "I'm old enough to decide what I want to do and I want to live with so-and-so." That's more typical of kids who are coached. You see more in the fit of rage or the act of protest. You see more of this sort of, discussion, room for discussion and justification and, so on, as opposed to someone who are truly victimized, especially the ones who are sexually victimized, especially if it reaches that threshold where they are fearing for their life. Fight or flight, it's nonstop screaming, fighting, scratching, pulling hair, biting, whatever it is, violent. There's no way to get to speak to the child. There is absolutely no way to reason, no way to get to the child, nothing. Lastly, for someone truly sexually abused, in conjunction with their statement or confession that they were victimized, you would see more signs such as sort of adjunctive signs, such as, again, aside from their confession, but you see also in addition, more signs such as frequent urinary infections, pain, itching, burning in the genital area, bleeding, bruising in the genital area, a shutting down like, a decrease in their hygiene and grooming, increase in depression, difficulty in school, increase in nightmares, increase in sexualized acting out, or being overly protective of their other siblings, regressive behaviors such as thumb sucking, running away, etc. These are all just examples of other characteristics and signs and symptoms of someone who is being, victimized. And a lot of parents who do the coaching, they'll try to build out a narrative, okay? You see a history of the parent who's doing the coaching. You'll see like a history of like doctor shopping, going to different doctors, in the ERs, speaking for the child. Anything they don't like hearing or want to hear that will not help build the case or their case, they then go to the next doctor to continue onto this path. So you see a lot of times, you see this continued doctor shopping, frequent visits, multiple visits. It's almost like a Munchausen by proxy, but with motives of secondary gain. I guess that's the best way to put it. So now I wanted to shift focus on something called parental alienation. Now, what is that? Parental alienation usually occurs when a child refuses to have a relationship with a parent due to manipulation, such as the conveying of exaggerated or false information by the other parent. The situation most often arises during a divorce or custody battle, but it can happen in intact families as well, believe it or not. Making negative comments about the other parent, blaming them for the divorce, making false accusations of abuse or neglect, threatening to withhold affection if the child expresses positive feelings about the other parent. These are all signs of parental alienation. Now, even though psychologists and psychiatrists don't recognize this to be a diagnosable condition, side note, it should, by the way, I personally feel that this is a form of exploitation, abuse, but the courts, they recognize this phenomenon, though it's not a recognizable crime if a parent is caught brainwashing his or her child, believe it or not, which is why I wish there was a law against this, just to protect the innocent children. And I think that's why you see a lot of parents do this, because in the end, they won't be severely punished. Sure, they will more than likely lose their case if found out that they have instilled parental alienation into their child, but no criminal charges, no official criminal charges are going to be pressed on the parent because in the end, all they care about is their own needs and desires. So they're like, oh, whatever, So I think that's why you see a lot of parents doing that. Which brings me to our next point. My next point is that what type of parent would try to manipulate their child to engage in parental alienation? You may ask. What kind of sick individual would do this? Well, usually it's set up by like a narcissistic or emotionally unstable parents who are usually motivated by their own primary needs. Their intense desire for revenge against their ex. Or they simply use a child as an outlet, as an act of the defense mechanism displacement, to where they displace their pain and rage, the subjective feelings they have towards their ex, onto the poor innocent child. Now, in terms of stats, I want to say about 10 to 15% of divorces involving children lead to parental alienation. And it's so terrible because the child is caught in the middle. It only will help to harbor feelings and instill feelings of ambivalence and confusion in the child. Why they are unilaterally coerced to love only one parent and not two. There's a lot of questions and so on, a lot of feelings of shame and guilt, and it's a big mess. And again, I'm not saying or accusing, that the dad is belittling the mom and making false accusations about the mom and her fiance, leading to parental alienation. What's the phrase? Every dog has his day in the court, right? And again, we'll have more clarity at next month's hearing, at least I hope so, when all the facts come out. Supposedly, word on the street is that the dad has got a lot of evidence, or so I've been told, so he deserves his day in court, and likewise so does the mother. So I wish them both the best of luck in this case, but most importantly, I wish the poor girl moving forward the best of luck into the healing process. So yeah, we'll know the truth within the next couple of months of what truly is going on, and whether this is legitimate or whether she was a victim of coaching and parental alienation. The bottom line is that in both situations are toxic, and this whole event is not psychologically helping her, or going to help her out at all. The ideal situation would be if both sets of parents put their differences aside. For Sophie, if they both got along and reduced any and all post-divorce conflicts and came together with similar shared parenting, which in turn will ameliorate the harmful, detrimental effects of high conflict, i.e., a warm relationship with both parents is definitely a protective factor that will work best in Sophie's interest from a tripartite standpoint, in the immediate, short, and long-term basis. That is the key. However, just looking at this case and comparing this to other similar type of high conflict cases that I've dealt with, we can only hope and dream. In other words, it's probably not going to happen. Okay, I think we covered it all. In my next video, by the way, I'm going to give you specific examples of coaching, parental alienation type cases, real life cases that I have encountered. I also will give you this one example in particular of this high conflict case between a father and a mother of mine, of course, omitting any vivid details to protect the innocent, the child, but that case actually is very, very, very similar to this one. You do not want to miss out on that. More on that in my next video. So definitely hit the subscribe button if you do not want to miss out. Trust me, it's good stuff. Okay, now to finish off here, I just wanted to end and stress to be careful about what and who you get your information off of this platform is on here. There are certain specific YouTubers out there that just because they're using the hashtag Stand With Sophie, they think that they're truly, all about her best interests. However, their actions are paradoxical to that of the hashtag or what they're trying to convey. The more appropriate hashtag for these individuals would be something along the lines of hashtag profiting on Sophie. They're exploiting the poor girl by continuously broadcasting and violating the poor girl's privacy by monetarily profiting and really not respecting her safety at all, and it's just appalling. What we see here is a highly parasitic online culture where there are certain select few YouTubers who are clearly exploiting her and showing no regards for her overall privacy. If they're not leeching and feeding off the case, they're overly emotionally judgmental and using their emotions, their clouded emotions, to get the best of them. That in turn may interfere with the overall court process. There was this quick example here. There was this one video I saw last night. It was the most ridiculous thing ever. This person, I'm not going to specifically call out anyone or try to start drama for views. We don't do it here at Psych Guy. But there is this one channel in particular who leaked out sensitive private diary entries and audio recordings, I believe, and then tried to spin it and justify and rationalize his or her actions as if he or she were hired directly by the courts or knew all the legalities behind it. I highly doubt that both parents and the judge agreed and said, oh wow, okay, great. Sure, just go ahead. Go ahead and leak out and broadcast this poor girl's inner thoughts through her diary journals and audio recordings of the amicus because, yeah, I mean, it may not be acting in the best interest of the child by sharing what should be enclosed, confidential, safe space, but you seem like a nice person, so why not? I truly find that hard to believe, and look, no hard feelings, okay? I'm sure this person in real life is a nice person. I think he or she truly means well. I get it how we're all trying to grow our channels, but just stay in your lane if you don't know what you're talking about, because his or her actions may actually hurt one side's case and or the entire case altogether. I mean, why do we even have lawyers then, right? So his or her actions were rather reckless, and as a professional, I've seen cases where such evidence is thrown out, even cases being thrown out due to heavy influencing and interference because of the sloppy, immature actions of others, such as what was done here. And look, I get it. I know it's a pretty heated case. I know it's very intense. I know it can conjure up a lot of emotions. But just step back and let the court process unfold, and justice for the girl and what's best for her hopefully will be served in due time. But speaking of staying in lanes, another thing, one of his or her videos was talking about PTSD, and he or she mentioned this twice, okay, in the time span that I watched the video, and mentioned that this child had PTSD and catatonia. Well, that really rubbed me the wrong way because, first off, what is your credentials? Are you trained to even make such a diagnosis? B, even if you have the right credentials, how do you know because you haven't really clinically evaluated that individual? And C, where did you come up with this diagnosis? Because PTSD really, truly, you've got to capture in 3 different domains, re-experiencing, avoidance, and hyperarousal symptomology, and it has to be going for at least a month. And I don't know how the case too well, but if this abuse has been happening, just recently for less than a month, then that's more like an acute stress reaction, acute stress disorder. It's actually the actual clinical term, diagnosis. If you look at the DSM, okay, that's number one. Number two is you can't mix PTSD with catatonia. Catatonia is something completely different. It's not even associated with PTSD. PTSD is an anxiety disorder. Catatonia is more associated with psychotic, schizophrenia, disorders, or even mood. But what is catatonia? It's basically a psychomotor disturbance characterized by hypomobility, which is the most common type we see. We refer to catatonia. We think about that. Waxy flexibility, catalepsy, and stupor. But anyways, those are the characteristics. But yeah, so this individual was kind of like playing, Dr. Phil or something. I don't know how you call it. But it rubbed me the wrong way because I don't like misinformation. Especially it kind of reminds me of folks who say, like, "Oh, you're bipolar," but don't really know the true definition of bipolar. That you gotta capture, 1 week period of, at least bipolar type 1 week period of manic symptoms and so on. So that was the one thing why I wanted to go ahead and inform you people who might know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's the correct sort of way in regards to thinking about that. Alright, well thanks so much for watching this video. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. This channel is all about disco overload. I'm into that. I am good to go, so let's go!
Cause I'm in the stars tonight. So watch me bring the fire, set the night light. Shoes on, get up in the morning, cup of milk, let's rock and roll. Kink out, kick the drum, rolling on like a rolling stone. Sing song when I'm walking home, jump up to the top of the brown. Ding dong, call me on my phone, nice tea and I'll get my ping pong. This is getting heavy.